Greetings, my ever friends. Good to be able to reach out and talk to you once again and bring you another stream of Everett Reinvented. Well, the campaign season is really heating up and it's getting a little bit testy out there. Um, a lot of harsh words being exchanged or at least thrown into the air by certain candidates. But we continue on. We continue on here on the stream, talking to returning candidates and new candidates to the field. And tonight I get a chance to share with you some conversation with my good friend Maria Bussell. I just call her Maria Bussell. Uh, some of you may recognize the name Radosta. Her father is a well known leader in the community, Charles Radosta, a well known veterans advocate who has he's been a fixture in the city as long as you can imagine. And he's just a man of just stellar reputation and integrity. And of course, the as I say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And Maria shares those same qualities. I've known her for quite some time now, since I worked for the city, and I have nothing but the utmost respect and admiration um, for what she does for the city and what she has done with her life in general. And over the course of time, she's become a close friend too. So I've learned a lot about her her values and her integrity and just the general compassion she has for her fellow individuals. She's an outstanding individual who is going to bring a great deal to the city council once she is elected. So I'm not going to delay any further. I'm looking forward and giving Maria a chance to share a little bit of her experience and what motivates her. And just in the interest of full disclosure, I'm happy to have been invited to assist Maria in her campaign, doing a little bit of media and a little bit of consulting and things like that. So um, let's get on and say hello to Maria. How you doing, Maria?
I'm
Tonight,
doing well tonight, Walter. How about you?
not bad at all. So you and I go way back, and as I mentioned on the disclosure, um, I have the privilege of helping out on your campaign, which I am very grateful to do. Let me see if I can change things
Very
up.
grateful for you.
Good, good. You're getting a lot of great feedback. We got the website up and running, mariabussell.com. And why don't you tell us the phone number that goes to the campaign right now? 617.
Sure. 617 634 2998.
And they can reach you by email at.
Maria for Everett, and that's FOR, at gmail.com.
Great, great. All right. You've been out campaigning, talking to people in the community. Obviously, very interested and active in Everett politics. So, let's jump in the Wayback Machine a little bit and tell me a little bit about the background, what ties you to Everett, a little bit about the family. Give me the elevator speech in 2 or 3 minutes, and let me know, what pushes your buttons, what brought you into Everett politics.
Well, what brought me into Everett politics was my desire to make my city what it was when I was growing up. I've seen so many changes, some for the better, most not. I don't like there's no transparency. The administration is not involving the constituents like it should be, and I think that I would definitely like to involve constituents much more than they are right now.
Absolutely, the level of transparency has gone downhill, as I've seen it over the last several years. And let's also point out, in your background and your commitment to the city, that you're employed by the city as well, correct?
100%. I'm employed by the city. I have been for the last 29 years. I am the fire chief's administrative assistant, which I have been for, again, like I said, the last 29 years. So I see a little bit more than someone that's because I'm on the inside. I
Yeah.
see how the infrastructure is slowly decaying and how the public is not being, they're not being they're not administration's not being honest with them. Let's say a lot of things are hidden. A lot of things they do are just to placate themselves, to up themselves, get themselves better. It's
Mhm.
not for the city. Um,
Okay, and let's be clear.
through the
This isn't really something you're deriving from your job. I mean, you know what the mechanics are required of your job, but as a
right,
resident, you're also seeing that the city becoming dysfunctional. You know that part of that reason lies behind exactly what you're saying here. That
right.
the things, the business is not being conducted correctly and things like that. Not
Well,
not that
I
I'm
think
putting words in your
no, no.
mouth, but
I understand. I get it, but I think as my job, as part of the insight that I get from my job is I don't think that the public knows that in the 29 years that I've been there, we were on number 19 of human resources director.
right, right.
It's stuff like that, the internal stuff like that, that the city is not running functionally
Hmm.
well
Hmm.
because there is so much turnover
Hmm.
in the infrastructure. So
Right.
there
All
cannot be
right.
any consistency for things to go smoothly.
So you went to Everett schools, right?
Public schools up until high school and when I went to Pope John.
You went to Pope John. Your
Graduated in
dad
1976.
your dad was actively involved in a lot of local things during those times, and of course the family became well known. Where was the family living at the time when you were in
Until
school?
Vernal Street, and then when
Mhm.
I entered high school, we moved up to Chestnut Place, where my dad had bought a house on Lexington Street. It was too
Mhm.
big for us. He cut it in half, subdivided the land, and we built a house on Chestnut Place.
Great, great,
Yeah.
and so let's move forward. Let's talk about a guy I heard about named Steve.
Oh, that's my husband, Steve.
Yeah.
I met really actually while I was late, just getting out of high school, beginning college. Um, Met through a mutual friend that I was attending night school with,
Mhm.
and that was all she wrote. Got married in 1979 and was proceeded to have three children, and we've made a great life for ourselves. He's self-employed electrical contractor. I work for the city. We, did our thing when the kids were younger.
Right.
I was a semi stay-at-home mom. Stayed home while he worked. He stayed home while I worked. So we
Yeah.
were fortunate not to have to pay for daycare, which is extraordinary.
And yeah, it's a matter of public record anyway. I'm sure you don't mind disclosing. So you at what street are you on now?
I'm on Freeman Ave. Um,
Okay, how
I
long you been there?
the home that on Freeman Ave. We've been here since 2004. I on the corner of Elm and Freeman, though. However, we bought that house in 1981, and unfortunately, I had an accident. And due to the accident, we had to build. We built not. We had to. We did build a home across the street from our backyard on Freeman Ave. So I've been in that neighborhood right there since 1981.
Well, and I was going to get to it in a little bit where you mentioned the accident, but I just want to
Yep.
make note there that that's. Yeah, I remember you making a statement to me, and it just filled me with such resolve. I was so impressed by it, and I've learned that really that philosophy, that statement that you made, is your philosophy in life. That you had a traumatic amputation, um,
Mhm.
You had a, definitely a life changing event through that. But the way you conveyed it to me was that you said, I'm damned if I'm going to let anything get me down or anything that's going to, stop me from, quality of life and living full. And when I started thinking about that, and I started thinking about the other things I see you do, like within the local politics, and how I see how you treat people and how you pay attention to things like, access, general,
Yeah, huge.
ADA issues, things of that nature. So, yeah, I guess I'm just trying to spin an inverted compliment. I mean, your Constitution is amazing when you approach something. When you seem to dig into something, you complete the job, and it's very, very impressive. So, moving
Thank
on
you.
from that point, I
Thank you.
mean, this that gave you a whole other perspective in life. You said you had three children, and of course, through our exchanges, and once again publicly, my condolences on the loss, of Michael. If you'd like to talk a little bit about Michael and his memory.
Sure. Michael was my firstborn. Michael was my firstborn in 2000, November 1st, 2006. We got a phone call that Michael was at work and he had fallen and he had been taken to the nearby hospital, which was Sturdy Memorial in Attleboro, Massachusetts. At the time, he was married. He was living in Westfield with his wife. He couldn't get in touch with his wife because she was in class, so they called us. So my husband and I drove down there, and we found out that he had fallen off a ladder and he had dislocated his shoulder. However, thanks to the astuteness of the doctor that was there in the ER that night, he decided he wanted to do an MRI to find out why Michael fell off the ladder. And that's when Michael was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Um, so December of 2006 into January 2007, Michael went under experimental radiation and chemotherapy simultaneously to eradicate the tumor. And it was inoperable because of where it was. It had been entwined in his brain. They said it had
Yeah.
probably been growing since he was a child. And
Oh, really?
it, right, they had never noticed it before because they never had any need to. So the cocktail, for lack of a better word, worked for a while. 2007, he was pretty sick with everything that was going on. 2008, better. 9, 10, 11, 12. 2013, it came back again. They tried to do surgery. It was unsuccessful. They tried another experimental chemo. It worked. We moved along again, now up to 2017. Came back again. Same thing. 2020, it really reared its ugly head. It came back and they told us that he would not make it in August of 2020 and 2020. The love of his life, at this time he had been divorced. Sorry, he had been divorced a while, and his girlfriend at the time, Renee, wonderful, my daughter-in-law. I have to tell you the story because it's so heartwarming. He had say they told him he wasn't going to make it, and he said, "I've had her. I gave her a ring. I want to marry her. I need to marry her. I have to marry her." So I called Sergio Canelio, who's the city clerk of Everett.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sergio, you got to do me. You got to help me out. What can we do? He said, "You have to wait 3 days, Maria. We can get the marriage license applied for. State law, 3 days." I said, "Then what do we do?" I said, "He's in intensive care. They don't expect him to live." I said, "I don't know if we can wait the 3 days." He said, "Gotta." So we did, and then he called Governor Weld at the time and um, Governor Baker.
Bill
Excuse me,
Weld.
Governor Baker at the time.
Kelly.
Yep, and he got a special permission so that he could be elsewhere because it was during COVID. There was no one allowed at the hospital.
Oh, right, right.
Um, yeah, it was 2020. It was during COVID. No one was allowed to be at the hospital, so he got special permission to marry them via FaceTime. So they allowed myself, my husband, Renee's sister, and Renee, and we put a bow tie on him in his hospital Johnny. They wheeled him to three nurses, wheeled him down with all his equipment from the intensive care unit at Mass General down to the courtyard, and we performed the ceremony, and he got married in the courtyard at Mass
Wow,
General.
that is
So,
incredible.
yeah, and they, well, unfortunately, again, this past January of 2025, we kind of knew things weren't going to be well. This was not going to be the year for Michael Bussell. He started losing his speech. He became paralyzed. He began to fail. And we sat down with him before he lost his speech completely, and he told us that he was done. 19 years of fighting, and he was done. He just
Yeah,
needed some rest. He needed to go.
right.
So, with his wishes, on April 27th, we had took him to the hospital because he was no longer able to do anything on his own. Renee couldn't get him up. We couldn't do anything. Sunday evening afternoon, we took him to the hospital. Monday afternoon at 3 p.m., we said, "That's it, no more." They made him comfortable, and that Tuesday morning, April 29th at 11:13, he passed.
The next day.
Yep.
Wow. Wow.
So,
What an
yeah.
incredible journey. And,
Yeah, it
um,
was a tough
yeah,
one,
again,
but it was the best thing for him.
very sorry, for the loss. And all you can do is rest on the memories and hope that
Right.
peace is at hand. Um, that
Oh,
he got his
yes,
wishes,
without a
and
doubt.
he changed some lives, and all the better.
Yep.
So taking that life experience that you've had, um, and seeing such things so close and so personally, you know, residents in the city also have access problems. Um, they seem to be plaguing Everett City government right now. So let's get into a little bit about the political atmosphere that's going on in Everett. Um, Such things as government accountability,
Yeah.
access,
Right.
and most especially this stadium issue. So let's take a roll on those three things there. Let's talk about government accountability. We seem to have a real accountability problem going on in the city of Everett right now. Do you have any vision on how you would like to influence changes in the way our government officials take accountability for their actions and
Yeah.
hold accountability? And go ahead.
I think every government official should be held 100% accountable for their actions, and um, through different things that I've seen in the city, I am the shop steward for the clerical bargaining unit, and I have been to many a meeting for discipline or whatever have you, different clerical
Hmm. Hmm.
bargaining people. And there's been a few issues that there should be some people that are no longer employed with the city for different things that have happened and for different reasons. And I think
Yeah.
that every single person should be held accountable for what they do. They start off with the mayor. The mayor, we all know that $180,000 was not a legit, that money was not a legit bonus. He should be held
Right.
accountable
Right.
100%. You've got my opponent, and he should be held accountable for what he did way back when. And it behooves me that he got reelected, because I don't understand if if people had more knowledge, and the administrators were more accountable, and it was out there what has been going on, I don't think that these same people would be in office anymore.
No, and the two names you just mentioned, if I may intervene here, I want to stress a point. It's no accident that they sing from the same sheet of music, but they're also related to one another.
They're
All
related.
right,
Yep, birds of a
um,
feather flock together.
and I'm a big fan of separation of government. I really don't like when the collusion starts and people start putting one foot on each side of the stream and playing both sides or whatever cliche you want to use. So you've had a mayor that has been able to influence people to the point where he's leveraged himself onto the school committee, which should be right there a separation of powers. All right, there
Well,
should be no overlap.
I want to stop you there, because he intimidated people to get where he is. It was
Correct.
That's a big difference.
Correct. Correct. And also, so it also, having, I mean, let's face it, your opponent does the mayor's bidding on the council. All right. Again, they're singing from the same sheet of music. And as you pointed out, his transgressions 4 years ago had the governor calling for his resignation, which he eventually did. And what he took, a 60-day sensitivity course or something like
Right.
that. I can't remember what it was. And he runs for reelection and
Right.
but gets elected. So I really have to question the wisdom of some of the people that voted on that, or their motives, if not their wisdom. But anyways, moving along, talking about government accountability. One of the things that you pointed out, people being in positions they shouldn't be in. There's been, as far as I'm concerned, questionable appointments in human resources. You have
Ugh,
what seems to be either a health issue or a discipline problem in the solicitor's office. Um, and I'll go bold. It's no secret in the city. It was in all the newspapers that it is apparent or appears that the administration and people doing their bidding are literally attacking residents for speaking out on first,
absolutely, 100%.
just First Amendment. Uh, it, uh, it also brings to mind, you've made a lot of great presentations in city council and public speaking. And one thing, because it tells me that you're so vigilant of the retaliation that goes on there, that you close every single statement with the same.
Every single meeting, yes. Yep.
I would appreciate no retaliation, but which is, I mean,
Nor
it's
no
golden.
retribution nor retaliation due to my comments and opinions.
But you're a no nonsense fighter, Maria. All right,
Yep.
so people would meet their match if they're trying to defraud the city government on your watch. Anyway,
And I
so
don't like the
really,
abuse of power. It's
no.
blatant abuse of power. I
Well,
mean,
that separation I talk about is
yeah,
abuse. That's exactly what it is.
the administration sits on the board of a department where somebody got fired from at his job. That's abuse of power. He's on the board there, and he used that position to have someone fired at their job. He,
It's incredible
the abuse of power is
and
just it's
jailed. And I mean, he was
yes,
jailed and
yep,
yeah. I hope a karma comes calling on that, and that our good friend sees his day in court on that.
right.
I don't know.
You and I both.
I won't speak for him. I don't know if he's intending on. I certainly would. I'd be shopping lawyers every day for something like that:
Yep.
false imprisonment, wrongful accusations, libel, slander. I mean, a whole laundry list of bad stuff is there. Um, all right, so moving on a little bit. So access to government. All right, but I'm going to talk about access or ask about access on your thoughts in a broader sense. For what I believe is monetary reasons, the zoning board of appeals seems to approve all these conversions onto multi big box units and things like that. The city has come under
Correct.
an absolute deluge of overbuilding and traffic refinements that has further clogged that city to a point where I was just reading a post the other day on Everett Reporter or ER2. You know, the poster said, well, the city's at a standstill again. It's gridlock all around. So,
It's incredible.
do you have
I
an
live
do you
on the
have an
other.
opinion?
I do. I live on the other end of the city from where my office is. Some days it takes me 30 minutes to get to my office.
How many
It's
miles is that?
incredible. Well, I live in the Woodlawn section, and my office is in the Village section. So when there's no school, it's a little bit easier. It's about 50, tops 15 minutes. But when there's school and work, and it's one morning it was 45 minutes. And
Mhm.
heaven forbid there's a tie up anywhere. It's just there's there's too much going on. There's just too much in the city right now. The traffic is equally as bad because of all the construction. we're ripping up streets that we've just ripped up, and we're ripping them up, and we're ripping them up. And for what? To what end? I see these companies doing the same work every other year. Is it why? Is it because it needs to be done? Or is somebody's getting a job that doesn't need to be done? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but let's face facts. Ferry Street, how many more times can they rip that up and redo it? You
Well,
know,
I call it, and you're not saying this. This is my opinion. So if anybody's going to get sued, it should be me. Um, I call it, uh, legal robbery is, well, the greatest example that comes to mind is Carlo Di Maria's defense fund. All right. Now, you had a man named John Fish, CEO of Suffolk Construction, in two increments dropped $50,000 each into a defense fund.
right?
And lo and behold, doesn't he always appear in, for look of city contracts or whatever? He was in on the casino. He
Yes.
was the general
Yep.
contractor down there. And I'll bet you his name is floated at the top right now on this proposed stadium, which I'm going to ask your opinion on in a second. Um, does he does two whacks of 50,000 improve his chances of getting the award contract? I'd say so, but it's legal. It's totally legal.
I know.
So I understand what you're saying. You can't make the insinuation that one hand is washing the other, even though apparently that's what we're seeing. When you see those same trucks out there digging up the same hole over and over again, it's almost like the old thing in basic
And they're
training with the
also on the
army.
donor list.
That's what I'm getting at.
If you check
That's what I'm getting
the donation list, the construction company um is they look in the it's the wife, the daughter, the kid, the this every family member is donating to Carlo. Every family
at.
member,
Correct.
$1,000, $1,000.
That's because Everett
I
votes
don't
as
get
a
it.
family. The
But these
actual
people,
currency are the
all these,
jobs in the contract.
right? I mean, to me, a mayor of Everett, the the bulk of his donations should be from the people that live in this town that want him reelected,
Correct.
not contractors, not these people where the majority of his donors don't even live in the city.
Now,
They own these big, huge construction companies. They're donating boatloads of money. Where are the people that want the mayor in? Why aren't the Everett people donating?
and we're building all these big buildings, creating all
You
this
know,
traffic. And when I started to get into the entrance of the question, one of the things, and this leads on to when I want to ask about the stadium, because that's definitely a harbinger for a lot more traffic if they put a stadium down there. So I already think we have a public safety issue with just the way the city is now designed and with the gridlock that it goes. I mean, God forbid if you have I mean, I'm singing to the choir here. I know that, but you have a major catastrophe. How are your emergency vehicles going to get through to access these people? I know years ago as a EMT in the city of Boston, yeah, people just don't get out of your way when you get somebody in the back of your truck that's in cardiac arrest. They don't care. They just stay in
right?
your way. So it's not just a matter of inconvenience of somebody taking a little bit longer to drive through Everett. There is a safety issue, a huge safety issue that's growing and is growing rapidly. I can't imagine how, and I don't want you to speak to this because of your job. I can't imagine how the public safety arms are dealing with the potential that's coming up here. It has to be a nightmarish scenario of no matter what you think of, how am I going to get these people out of an area? How am I going to get safety equipment into an area? It's just,
Right.
and they keep contributing on. So, what I'm getting at, and the underlying problem is all this overbuilding, all this approval, and all this what apparently is quid pro quo because that's why all these things are going through. So, what do you see in terms of city planning um, in the immediate future? Is there a building moratorium on the horizon?
Well,
What's
first and
Maria
foremost, I
Bussell's
think
platform on?
first and foremost, the ZBA should be elected. It should not. The members should not be appointed. I think if the constituents are going to have to live with all this comings and goings of all these big buildings, they should have a
Mhm.
say. They should have more of a say, and they should be able to elect people that are going to be on the zoning board, because appointees are just that. They're appointees. They're puppets. They're marionettes.
Mhm.
They're going to do what they're told to say. So there's just no two ways about it.
So
You
let
have
me ask you:
the zoning board is stacked with people that are going to say yes.
Does Councilor does Councilor Bussell propose that in her first
Yes,
term?
one
Does
hundred
she?
percent. That would be one of the first things that I would like to see a change in.
Okay, okay. That's I like the
I
sound of
agree.
that.
Wholeheartedly believe they should be elected.
Very forward
Yes,
thinking. All right, so now let's push on
100%.
to the stadium issue. Uh, the, to me, the biggest concern, and it's emerged in the campaigns already, is the fact that this is not the stadium is not being put to a ballot issue. Is I mean, there's a lot of concerns about the whole thing anyway. But right now, the contentious issue should be or is that people want to see this as a ballot issue, so Everett can express. And you have your politicians right now going. I, mean, I shouldn't say all politicians. You have a few politicians going up there saying Everett residents are in favor of this. I don't think they are. But either way, it should be a ballot issue. Should it or should it not?
Yes, 100%. It should be a ballot issue. Um, the people of Everett have the right to decide what they want in their town. He did it for the casino. Why can't he do it for the stadium? What is in it for him so badly that he refuses to hear anybody out what they want?
Great. All right. Listen, we've actually been chatting quite a bit here, so I'm gonna uh, go ahead and put a tail on this.